Hi everyone, welcome to Under Thunder Mountain. It's Thursday, live stream chat with Dr. Cat time. Hope you're doing well today. It seems as if the weather's cleared up a little bit, though we keep all of our friends through the storms in prayer. Welcome, come on in. Nice to see you here Thursday. It's noon. Well, morning is over and the sun is breaking through the window for me here today. A little bit of light always brings a new perspective to every situation, doesn't it? Well, as I said, we're here today to talk about, as we do every week, a live chat with me, Reverend Dr. Kathleen Fennedy. And we're working from the site called Under Thunder Mountain, and it's available on Gmail. If you're interested in doing any sending of an email. We also are available on Facebook, so you can check us out there too. Today, I'm going to be talking about the three aspects that are happening in the sky in relationship to a way that we can handle the energies, because everything is energy, so I'm always going to be talking about energy and our relationship to energy, with three mudras, one of which many of us very familiar with, the prayer mudra, which is also called the Atmanjali mudra, which brings us into a place of connection with the divine. And we'll be doing two others. One's the Atpan, which is an energy mudra, and then we'll be working with the lotus mudra. I'll incorporate them throughout today's show. I also invite you to bring in your comments and shares, likes and hearts. Love seeing everyone here, and welcome. If you missed this show, you can always check it on the rebroadcast. And I also have an Under Thunder Mountain YouTube page. Okay, here we go. Let's just start with a simple kind of example, show and tell. We have a coin, right? And there's two sides to a coin. The heads and the tails. And so when we flip a coin up and we put it over and we say to the person, okay, heads or tails, you choose. You know, if it's heads, you win. If it's tails, you lose. So pick heads, tails. Okay, if you were heads, you win. If you were tails, you lose. Or you have to bargain whatever was the point upon which you were using the coin for. Who's going to play first? Who's going to go first? So there are always two sides. We know that. There's a dark and there's a light. And there's seasons and times and reasons. And last week we talked about how we were managing the energy of unrequited love. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to start to talk about that last week is because in the skies right now, the Venus, which is our planet of love and light, she's the planet of beauty. She's going and has already begun the process of retrograding, which then brings out the darker side of love. And a lot of times, if individuals aren't aware of what's going on, just as when Mercury goes retrograde and conversations get lost and people, emails don't go through, and okay, so too with Venus, when she goes dark star. What happens? She goes to the other side. So now we see Venus, who is a star at night, suddenly become a day star. And it's because she's moved backwards, and her other side is more prevalent. And it began energetically around the first week of September, and it will take us all the way through middle of December. It's a tough energy. The star looks so beautiful in the morning. To see the dark star, you know. We also have what just happened with Aries going as a full moon coming. But Aries is astrologically the first fire, the first planet, the first beginning, catch of the flame, of an idea, of a rush. And the favorite place for Aries is not in a full moon. Aries likes a new moon, but Aries is going to be in full. And then on top of those two elements, we have the equinox, which is our balancing moment of dark and light. And after that moment of dark and light, we that were more in the light will go more in the dark, and those who were more in the dark will have more of the light. So as I've talked throughout all of the videos, we're connected to the stars and the planets in some way. We are learning more and more every day, but we know that we're not just unaffected by what's happening out there. And just as if we would be unaffected by how we were treating planet Earth, we're becoming higher conscious beings, and things that used to divide us are no longer of the matter world. For higher conscious beings aren't bound to that. So as we move through this 4-month time period, we have this opportunity to take a look, as I've said so many times, at our dark side. And many people who say, I don't have a dark side, then we know, okay, you have one, you don't know it, and that makes it an even more volatile, possible, unaware being that would not be able to manage how they extend themselves out because of a dark side habit. And that habit could have been, as we know, socially constructed. We're socially constructed beings, so that habit could have been a social construction of our reality. And as we're shifting and evolving, we are leaving behind some of these ways, so that we're not going around and around in the desert for 40 years, waiting and repeating and moaning, as from a Judeo type of Christian perspective. So, dark star energy, I think, is just like, wow, the opposite side of love couldn't be like envy, except here at Under Thunder Mountain, we're always going to talk about and work towards a love and light perspective, and not Pollyannish, but positive. So if there's a sense of that's happening within you or within your community, the way that we can handle that is through like emulative envy, which is instead of I want that. I should have that. Instead of that, it's, oh, I can achieve that. Oh, look what I can, I'm able to rise to, so to speak. Or, well, I could do better than that. That was something, but I definitely can do better than that. And that's one way that we can, through our patterning of our mind, reprogram something that may take us in a darker direction. Let me give an example from Greek history. Okay, Medusa. the story of Medusa, right? Medusa, a Greek figure, right? Who's Medusa? I'm going to come in close into the chat, give a wave. Who's Medusa? Do you know? Think about, who is she? Remember, she was the lady who had the snake hair? And she was the one who supposedly would, if you looked at her, it would kill you as a man. So she must have done something really horrible, right, one thinks. Well, here's the story. This is what happened with Medusa. You have three primary figures. You have Poseidon, the god of the water, Poseidon. You have Athena. Athena, she's the goddess of wisdom, right? And then you have Medusa, who is a fair maiden. And in Athena's world, in order to be her priestess, which Medusa was, Athena's priestess, you were a virgin. Well, Poseidon and Athena were at odds with one another. So Poseidon came into Athena's court and he raped Medusa right there. Now Medusa is all distraught. She goes to Athena, tells Athena what happened. And Athena's angry because Medusa's beauty, she was so fair, that she cursed her and cast her into the snake woman that we know of now. And that's the background of Medusa. Between the women themselves. So beauty in our society is such an issue that women, and I've talked about this, that women tear one another down, and we have these levels of beauty that are, well, like I said, it's fun to play with makeup and everything, but with all the ways that we're changing our worlds around, with the portal that we're using, we're doing different things that are kind of like covering up and covering up and covering up. And I don't even know how much money this is going out into the industry, but it's because of a socially, as I said, we are social constructions of our reality. And we're socially constructed realities. And then the individuals that are outside of that, you know, are the outcasts, the scapegoats, and that, all those archetypes that we have as human beings are define us, and it's hard because we know when we see ourselves, right, in an archetype. And we strive, we want to be like greater archetypes. Okay, so let me open up my notes just for a moment and take a quick peek. As I said, we have the Atman Jali Mudra, which is our prayer mudra. We know when we put our hands together in supplication and each finger touches the other finger and the palms come together, and we bring that close to our heart and bow our heads and breathe. Even if we do it for a minute a day, our energy is so changed by that beautiful mudra. And we can say our prayers during that time, and we can use it as a meditative moment of silence to listen, to just listen. Remember last week we were talking about how many forms love has. I don't know if you've had a chance to think about that. Remember I said love has got so many different expressions of itself. So as we have this dark star movement, and as we have the Venus going retrograde, our planet of love and beauty, watch how one is to oneself, because certainly here we are always talking about having a self-loving relationship. When we have the self-loving relationship, the winds and changes can go around. The self-love is not a narcissistic love, but a love that's in the connection to, as I've said, the crown of our head down to the base of our toes, throughout our whole body. We know that we're connected to a greater source. And there are so many, there's like 18 major religions, and beyond the 18 there's so many different religions. that, everyone calls the source by a different name and has the rules and their doctrines accordingly over time, because we're socially constructed realities, and that includes our it includes our religion and our politics. It includes how we eat, it includes everything. And it also creates incredible schisms and has caused us to turn on one another and to turn on those you love. And so the two sides of the coin, the day and the night, the planets moving forward and encouraging our energy, and when the planets are going backwards, it's taking individuals through sometimes a redo, a retake. We're going to go over this again. It's kind of like you didn't get it, so I'm going to have you go back. And whatever choices that you made, one would say the first week in September, are going to play out in the next 4 months from a perspective of learning on the dark side. Okay, so if you started a relationship, the relationship over the course of the 4 months will get more and more dark, and then it will, and then everything will move forward again. And it's very interesting to see how, when we get aware of the outside of us, and I'm not just saying outside of us, outside of our rooms, but outside of our social constructed realities, we expand, our consciousness expands, and we begin to see more. And it's like that little prayer I said, I think it was in the first video, I said, I prayed to God, I was raised Irish Catholic, but now I'm a reverend in the Universal Life Church, and accepting universal religious practice. But I remember saying to the priest that came to the house, asking him questions when he was teaching us the Bible. And the priest went to my father and said, this little girl is asking questions that theologians don't ask. So apparently we all come in with this type of with the destiny on us, right? Touch of destiny on us, and with a divine purpose. And so it's interesting to be sitting here, kind of knowing that as part of my past, but being a theologian now, and so open to the concept of God and God as consciousness that is beyond what we've put into books and passed down through history, through the leaders and rulers and victors of the time. And hidden documents arise, and a lot we don't even ever get to see. So dark side energy, working with dark side energy, how do we manage the dark side of love? Because love has a dark side, and love has a light side. And as I've said so many times, with everything that has the duality, is to come into a place as much as possible of non-duality. But if you swing over to one side, generally you end up swinging over to the other side as a pendulum until the center, the plumb line, is found. And then something else comes along in life and sends it out again. It's a constant flow, an ebb and flow of the water. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. Individuals rise, individuals fall. Economies rise, economies fall. Right? The sun rises, the sun sets. Someone is born, someone is passed away. The anabolic and catabolic process of life, without which the other, there would be none, So it's an important process, and again, working with ways that you can pattern different thoughts, as I said, with emulative envy, or as with happened with Athena. Now, Athena was goddess of wisdom during that time, and even she made a wrong decision by casting Medusa with a curse because Poseidon raped her. Medusa had done anything. Interesting, isn't it, to hear that part of the story? Here's Aeschylus, a Greek scholar. I just pulled out some different fun things for us because it's a live chat with Dr. Kat, and we're here to chat together. And I always tell you, don't forget to put your comments in, especially while we're talking. Hey, look, I watch these other videos, you know, people talk on it and say different things. You know what I mean? So, hi, you can make comments, you know. And always remember to put up your hearts. Aeschylus said this: "It is in the character of very few men, we could say women as well, to honor without envy a friend who has prospered." Right? Cain killed Abel because of jealousy and envy, because God was more pleased with one's offering. Like I said, two sides of the coin. And if I'm correct, there was deception in that too. Right? So when we're looking at love and the power of love, I spoke about agape love and eros love. Okay, eros and thanatos, life and death instinct. Thanatos, death. Eros, life. Erotic, sexual procreation. Right? Agape, unconditional love of God, very striving towards achievement of humanity to be able to love one another without conditions attached. I love you only if you practice my religion, or I love you only if you are a vegan, or you know, I'm just throwing some of the new kind of I love yous up. Sure, we like to be in like-minded communities, but part of the beauty of life and learning about one another and in being able to enjoy it is in inviting other aspects of life into life. I don't know. Seems that way to me. I don't know what you think. I mean, and your thoughts do matter. I'd love to hear them. Okay, time. I'm always talking about love and time. It seems to be these major themes that are in my radar zone or whatever in my time of life, as for such a time as this or something. Maybe time, it seems so relative. So one time is important to one person who isn't important to the time, and time moves differently. Let's see if I wrote it down. I think it moves faster. It moves faster at higher elevations and slower at lower elevations, I believe. So that you could have that clock that gets down to the nanoseconds, some type of NASA space clock, and measure time in the high altitude and in the low altitude, and one's going to run faster than the other. Time is relative to where you are in the universe, literally in nanoseconds, say. So streaming through our structure, our energy circuits and connectors and receptors in our feet, in our fingers, as I said, with our mudras that we're working with today, and in our toes, and in the pressure points and lines in the neuron receptors and glia and our brain electrical systems. We are, I guess, like we could look at ourselves like the tree of life. I'm dismissing something I know is going to pop up, and I could feel it coming, and there it was. Oh, okay, so we have the ley lines that run throughout our bodies. And these ley lines run throughout the planet Earth. And the lines extend out into the stars, the planet, and galaxy, and everything as we are, or organistically, as an organism, all together, pulsating and flowing, and we're all going off of this energy. And as we're doing it, we're living in our social worlds, of globes, of individual groups, and affected or not affected by another group's whatever's going on, and yet over time there comes a time when it does affect, and we see the results of that with our water and our air, the endangered species. We see it in our earth, we see it in our relations on a more global level with other human beings. With the Celtic knot, it's an interesting knot because it has no beginning and has no end. It's that concept of we're all in this together. And even though I think we create our groups and our enclaves so that we have a feeling of safety, because outside of that there's the unknown. There really is the unknown, because our enclaves define even where we're going when the time comes, right? When no one knows for whom the bell tolls, but it tolls for everyone. So I think during this time, for me, one of the practices that I've been really encouraging within my own personal rituals and practices is to be very aware of what's going on out in the greater astrological world. I always was, around my community and my nation and that world, but now, international populations. But I'm being drawn towards really being conscious of what's happening in our cosmology. It's so funny. I thought, I wish I could suddenly become suddenly study at NASA and be able to study the stars. That would be so much fun and so cool. Wouldn't it be? To be able to look through all those little machines that they can look at every little tiny thing on planets. I mean, we can look at it certainly through the TVs and learn on our own. Be like a Rhodes Scholar. So we have time, and we have what's going on in the time, and we have how we're handling our time. And as I said last week, I brought up the concept of karma. And it's one of those words that people kind of get a little feather ruffly about. Well, we don't, in our religion, we don't have that concept of karma. Everywhere we're just going to, basically do our repent. We'll go to the priest. We'll go to the confession booth. Or we'll do our teshuvah, right? And we'll do our practices and then we'll wash clean, and we'll start again. So in all of the different religions, we have all that because we've all are human, and within all of our groups, we want to make kind of our moral, ethical procedures. And they've been carried through time, and that's how we keep holding on to tradition, and we hold our rituals because it gives us a solid base to be able to go out into the stars so you don't get lost. My mom used to say, remember, as far out as you go, you have to find your way back. I go, I know. When we're doing a mudra, I love to take the time to cleanse off the hands. And if you're at your desk You know, we are always using our fingers and our hands for everything. And we have gestures, right? Hi is a gesture, right? Here's a fun one. You know, where am I saying this in? Here's a fun one, halfway in. Yeah. So in one culture, the middle finger is a curse, right? If somebody gives you the middle finger, right? You go, wow, man, come on. What'd I do, you know? Right? In an Ayurvedic tradition, the middle finger is the finger that connects to the divine, and it's all about being blessed. So this is where illumination and divinity come from. So perspective always is an interesting thing. And in one tradition, it could be, whoops, you got, like I said in the beginning, what end of the coin did you get, right? But we always have the opportunity to turn it around into a positive. As with emulative envy, I don't know why I picked that one. I guess I was thinking of Medusa and how she envied, how Athene envied Medusa's beauty. And even though, you know, she was taken and abused by Poseidon, Athene still got mad at Medusa. So I think about how we're handling our energies, and envy and jealousy, those seem to be the kind of the traditional dark sides of love. I'm sure you could probably list a whole bunch of them. I'm sure there's more. But yeah, that clock was called the atom clock. It measured in nanoseconds. The time was relative to where one was, okay? Where one was in the universe. Higher up, right? The clock closer to Earth runs slower. The clock at higher altitudes runs faster. The higher up you are, the faster time is moving. Isn't that interesting? And we're always changing our clocks and our times. We have different time zones. We adjust the clocks according to the time zones to try to get all of our clocks in the same time zone so that we all know what time it is in one another's worlds. I mean, just imagine when we didn't have clocks and we were measuring time by the sun, right? The sundial. Pardon me while I take a sip. This is always an opportune time for you to pop in and make a comment or a question. Well, we want to get into kind of that Celtic knot zone. Like timeless, infinity time. Time is infinite. Time goes on, right? Into the cycle of time, moving through time. And being able to be aware that actually time can be slowed down and time can be sped up just by where one is. I want to just say about time, because we think about time, you know, in the past we have time references through ghosts, okay? People who've had loved ones who've passed away, and they are visiting them, and they know that they're with them. You know, we have the Long Island medium, and we have all the different types of individuals who say, or even in church, someone would say, you know, I saw my grandmother show up here, okay? So that this fluidity of what we are in spirit, even though our bodies have been dissolved, we don't know about that yet. We have all of our codes and legal doctrines, and we have our figuring it out, and we've changed it over time, you know. We had, you know, Dante's Inferno and Purgatories, and we've had everything throughout time. We keep changing that as we go through time. But time doesn't have a limit. And within our spirit, and within our whatever is within us that's connected to that which is beyond us. And the question of where that came from is always a question. Oh, it just appeared out of nowhere. Okay, yeah. There's something that's so much bigger than we can understand yet. And those who have had these moments who come out with these types of ideas, say like someone like Edgar Cayce, right? You know, it's not necessarily the most populist idea, right? So time is in continuum. And when someone has, say, for example, again, documented near-death experiences, they've had some type of a future past experience. Maybe neuroscience would profess that it's all part of the neurochemistry and that this is all loaded in. Again, where'd the load come from? You know, if this was all programmed in, where's the programmer? I don't know. Okay, and when we talk about programming, just as with the coin, artificial intelligence is great, but how is artificial intelligence created? There's a programmer. The programmer programs the information in. So the programming of the AI is dependent upon the programmer. So we have good and evil. So we're going to have good programmers who will program good AI, and we will have people who are inclined toward the dark side that will program dark, I'm using that word, negative AI intelligence. Because it's within us, this ability to go, and even though you know you're not supposed to have the cookie, you're going to take the cookie. That's general MO. And you know, until we humans continue to get evolved around that, because it's not about the cookie. You know, I didn't take that cookie, right? It wasn't me. Oh, and here's one other little interesting thing about time. I'm sure you can tell a bunch of things, and even as I'm talking about time journeys where you've had a visitation from someone that you've loved, and even pets come back. And if you have had an ND experience, a near-death experience, or you know someone, or you've read about someone. There's a surgeon down in New Haven, Connecticut. I can't remember the book. I read it, oh my God, like 20 years ago easily. But he had an NDE, and he wrote about it. So it was pretty interesting for me back then. I think that was probably my first exposure to hearing someone actually who had written a book and was sharing the experience. So time slips is something that, you know, it happens. It's like all of a sudden people will report they're in an alley, and then something will happen. There'll be a flash, and then there'll be some occurrence, and then suddenly they'll look around and everyone's wearing and in clothes, and the cars are all from the 1930s or something. There are reported places in our planet where there are time portals, and there's some different things going on with time. So I don't know if you've ever had any of these kinds of time experiences. I know I've had a couple of interesting little time experiences, and I know if some of my friends watch this who were with me during some of those experiences, they would be able to say, oh yes, that did indeed happen. But time is interesting. And remember I was talking about, I don't know, this was a couple of weeks ago, I think, Berger and Luckman, and they had done a study on play. And remember I said, play suspends time. And I encouraged play, and, you know, going out and playing with nature, playing with your pets, playing with your little ones, you know, and enjoying that idea of play. Not in terms of a competitive play, but just that, wee, you know, enjoying that playfulness. Being aware that's one of the ways that we can manage the retrograde energy of the planet of love, Venus, as it goes dark. Finding ways that we can play and release playful energy, suspending time, as a way to ride through the time of the holidays. It's all holidays. Happy holidays to my Jewish friends. So we're already in holiday season. We're in it. Okay. Mudras. We have plenty of time to play with some mudras. If you're just coming in, it's the live chat with Dr. Kat. We've been talking about two sides of the coin, and the dark side of Venus, which is retrograding, and we're already feeling the energies of that. We're talking about how we're right in the middle coming up this weekend to a perfect balance space with a fall equinox of time being equal day, equal night. That moment, it's rare for us, comes but twice a year. And then we have our Aries, which is astrologically a fire sign in full moon. Very uncomfortable seat for Aries. Doesn't really like being there. So anything that you're starting is already kind of ended. Projects that you thought were going to work out, investments may not turn out very well. I mean, I'm not, like, that's not my, I don't really do that, but just as I've been working with these, it just kind of starts to come together and you go, oh yeah, I see that now. I see. Paul only took so long. Why does it have to take so long? I always think we have, even though, I always talk about time and the unlimited and infinite aspect of time, the striking reality of it is, someone you love is gone. right? Wow, that's, time ends for a while in that shock zone. And so we realize in the form of matter that there is a limited amount of time for matter. In the form of spirit, time continues in a beautiful way, shine bright like a diamond, right? Shine bright. You and I, we're diamonds in the sky, right? So the prayer mudra is a simple hands together mudra. But even when we're doing something that we're so familiar with, it's good to take a moment before doing a mudra movement and just releasing the air, taking some deep breaths and then letting air out. Once we've let that air out, it allows for the inviting of that fresh air in. Out with the old, in with the new, right? And then one makes the prayer with that fresh air. I like to also do finger movements and keep my fingers actively engaged so that I know when I touch my thumb to my index finger, I feel that connection and I feel how it moves through my entire body. That's why when we hold hands with another human being, if there's an energetic and there's a deep connection that you have with that other human being, that simple hand hold is electric. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's not common. It doesn't happen often. And you can't box that into a religion or an economic social class. That's the thing about it, because we're all here with one another to experience one another and to have this maybe even lifetimes together. It's fear that keeps us apart. It's always fear. Oh, why I said this. I wanted to just say this. Treat your fingers in a loving way. The hands have all the lines, in connectors to all the organs, just like our feet do when we have reflexology. Everything is connected, and everything is energy. And when I say connected, we're in relationship with that. So when Venus has to go retrograde, because where there is light, there is dark, I think that it's our relationship with her movement that determines how that interaction is for us. And collectively we can do it for the greater, but within our own individual frame, that's a possibility. By gathering energy, we rub our fingers and hands together and create a heat. I know we've all done this since we were children. And if you keep your eyes closed when you start to take your hands apart, I'm really rubbing up the energy so that I can keep my eyes open and feel it. You have literally a ball of energy, and it can be formed, and you can feel it moving, and you can feel the tingling, and it's the oxygen, air, and the air around the hands, right, that is activated in that. Kind of cool, huh? Because science, right? It's science. It's all physics and physiology and all the energies of all of us all together, breathing and exhaling. Okay, so the way that we can calm ourselves down in our own energy field, as I've said, is through our breath. And by slowing down our breath, and I've given us that slow down breath beat. Hi everybody. Slow down breath beat of counting in on a count of 3, holding and releasing on a count of 6. That literally brings your body into a calmer space. Will lower your blood pressure. And we've done that exercise in one of the earlier videos, so you can check it out on rebroadcast. And then to refresh oneself, one wants to activate and get the energy intensified. So it's, more of like you'd feel your breath going faster. We have it's called Kapalabhati, which is a skull cleansing breath. So the nose is the only portal where air comes through, and one's breathing through that nose, and the belly is the air passage, push of the air as it comes in and out through the nose. And in doing that, there's a lot of oxygen that gets up into the head, and it opens up pathways, and it's very refreshing. And we can do that in another time when we're working with more breath. So during the dark side, this dark time is a good time to let go of anything that's dark. And it can be even in a material type of way where you have an area in your room where you've noticed, I could really lighten and brighten this space up. I need to clean that closet out. I believe that during this dark time of the Venus, channeling that energy into making things beautiful is the best way to manage the dark energy of Venus, because at that particular point, that dark energy of beauty is not the line we want to go down. Seriously. Which is looking at another and being angry, as Athena was with Medusa, and going, I curse you for your beauty. It's like, wow, why do women have to do that? or I hate you because you have cellulite, or I don't like you because you're this, and I don't like you because you're that. I'm like, women, sisters, goddesses, love one another, send love and light to one another, uplift one another. You know, I don't understand why one woman wants to tear another woman down. I don't understand it. I never understood it, and and I don't understand why a man would want to do it to a man either. And I've talked about, what is your intention? Why do you want to put out energy when you know the river of life flows in both directions? What goes out comes back. Okay. There's an old indigenous saying that, you know, even the river weeps when she has to move on and leave behind what she leaves behind. You know, and yet as soon as that current changes, the water is coming right back. So we know when we get in touch with the rhythms that we actually can use the times when the energies are pulling in one direction and say, no, I don't have to go that way. I mean, I'm aware that that's the pull, but if I hold to this way of using my energy and channel it into another activity, creating a piece of art, creating anything, just creating something is coming out of your source of beauty. And let something come out during this time in the form of some form of creation. And whether it's making, what's coming up, Halloween wreaths, and or decorating in your garden, or cleaning out a closet, or writing a poem, or making a painting, or freshening your inner closet, who we are individually, saying, okay, I'm going to, you know, take a look at what's going on here in this closet now that I'm in it, and I'm going to be in it for the next 4 months. So let me take a look and see these shoes, these new shoes I bought the other day. I don't know, maybe they aren't going to fit very well. Maybe those old shoes that I've had over there in the back, I put on every once in a while when I'm not feeling that good. Maybe those are the shoes I actually do need. I'm going to get rid of these new ones, give them to Goodwill. I'm going to keep my old shoes. Go back to my old shoes. They were comfortable, or whatever. The Apan Mudra, as I said, I would just talk about a little bit, is an energy mudra. And the Apan Mudra is could have the pinkies are going to be outstretched and the thumbs and the middle fingers. And all these mudras are used for how we're managing energy. And the Lotus Mudra, I just want to make sure I get all the names in so that next week when I come back, we can work with them a little bit. And I think what I'll do, if it's okay with you and you like the idea, I'll add in the breath work, and we can do maybe like a 5-minute quickie exercise for a lunchtime break. I know everybody's in all different locations and the time zones are different, but on the rebroadcast, I guess you can listen to it any time. So if it doesn't work for your lunchtime, remember, just catch it on the rebroadcast. And then the other mudra that I wanted to talk about was the Lotus Mudra. And the Lotus Mudra is when you think of a flower, the tree of life. I always like to think of the tree of life and the lightning path. And I'm always connecting, you know, I'm cross-religious studies, so I'm always connecting all of our signs and symbols and all of our stories from all of our different religious traditions, because I can see how we're also connected. So, okay, but we do have to keep our little separate places in order to keep ourselves, you know, safe, I think. At least for now, that's what people's energies are saying. So the hands are connected so that the pinkies are connected, the thumbs are connected so that the front of the hands are connected, and the fingers open up to a flower. and stretching the fingers. I'm having us just do this one because it's such a great exercise just for the body. But on a spiritual level, this is our heart chakra. And so, like a lotus, we rise up and then we go down into the mud, and then we come up and we rise up and shine bright like a diamond, right? Because we're all diamonds in the sky. I love that song. All right, now I didn't know if anybody was asking any questions. I did pop in a couple of times. Practice a couple of different movements with your hands and become aware of your fingertips. Play with some energy, creating energy, little energy balls. Feel the energy. Feel the difference of your own touch and when you touch the hand of someone that you love. And why we pet our animals is because that's another form of touch. Remember to get out and play. Play suspends time. Suspending time is a way to work with time as we're moving through this dark time of our planetary Venus. And also remember, this weekend we have fall equinox. Très cool, day and night of equal time. You know, if you can have a moment to maybe do a prayer or practice a particular mudra, take a look at one of your own personal dark energies during that moment of that equinox of our time. See what shows up. There's always opportunity for us to expand our consciousness and to grow. The only thing that keeps us from doing that is fear. And, you know, I see us humans as wanting to move past fear and live in a place of love and light and experience laughter. It's the best medicine, right? I was having some raspberries for lunch today. Raspberries. So that's about it. Any questions? I see everyone there. Hi, Georgia. Love to see you. Hi, Jim and Karina. How you doing? Everybody doing good? Raspberries. Raspberry love and light. They're so good. You could make raspberry lipstick out of this. That would be a goddess thing to do, wouldn't it? What else is going on? Anything else? Any news? I see your beautiful picture, Georgia. How's Arizona? Can you type onto the machine, or is it doesn't not work? I love seeing your picture. All right. Hey, Karen, tagged you in. Okay, everyone, I guess that's about it. It's about our live chat with Dr. Cat. Time over and out. Look forward to seeing you next week. Keep that love and light. You know, work with the heart chakra. You know, bring your energy in a loving place. Laugh. Play. Remember, you're uniquely special, and you're so special. There's no one like you. And you shine bright like a diamond, right? And that's all who you are. So be the light and love you are, and shine home, and I'll see you next week. Blessings always. Oh, let me just chime us out. That's always so pretty to hear. Just take that moment. Beautiful. Blessings always. You know I love you. Can't wait to see you next week. Have a good equinox. Woo! Enjoy the balance of life. Oh, it would be good to do, okay, I will. Finally cooling down. Oh, thank goddess, huh? It's so hot out there, I bet, yeah. I know, but the winters are so beautiful. You can go outside and take hikes all winter long. I'm doing emulative envy now. And yeah, that's a good idea. I hear what you're saying. George is saying it would be good to do one on fear. Yeah, well, we've got 4 months of this dark activity. We don't want to run away from the dark side. You know, the more that we can understand our own dark side, the higher our consciousness and our expansion can. Then when we bring that which is unconscious and subconscious into consciousness, we become a more enlightened being. Yay for enlightenment. Love you, and that's a good idea. Am I going to see you next week, Georgia? Let me know. Pass on the video. Okay, everyone. Blessings. See you again. Be good. Shine bright.